Hello and welcome to the AI with Arun show. If you're curious about how ServiceNow, one of the top cloud platform companies in the world, is building the AI-powered enterprise nerve center, see real-world examples of AI agents augmenting human work, and learn how ServiceNow is tackling data readiness, security, AI bias, AI ethics, then this is the right show for you. It's your guide to thriving in an AI-driven world featuring ServiceNow's bold moves in an AI-powered CRM and the secrets of successful human AI collaboration. So join me in welcoming Ashish Lahoti, who is the Chief Transformation Officer at ServiceNow. Ashish, a very warm welcome to the show.
Oh, Arun, it's nice to be here. Thank you.
So Ashish, start by giving our audience a glimpse of what your role means. Transformation means a lot of things to different people, right? So exactly what does your role mean in the context of ServiceNow's AI-driven vision?
Yeah, so I think, many times transformation is overused. It sometimes substitutes for incremental improvements, which are important. I think with AI, it really holds prophetic opportunities for impact. I mean, when you look at from a revenue margin profile, or even redesigning business models, I think we have that opportunity at a level that we hadn't contemplated before. And I think what's happened, though, is unfortunately, customers have gotten conditioned to subpar experiences. Operations teams are stuck in morass, and people have just kind of gotten numb to the pain of just getting what they need. And I think AI allows us to revisit core assumptions and demand better, like demand better for the customer, for internal processes to build products, and to collaborate operationally across teams. So what I do is I collaborate with our strategic customers, executives, to develop a vision for such transformations and offer pragmatic guidance to drive change to realize these benefits.
Wow, that's a wonderful explanation, Ashish. Because many of the companies that we work with, they are struggling to define what a transformation, AI-led transformation, should look like, and what you just articulated helps provide a lot of the CXOs and top management teams about what this role should be looking at, because this thing is unowned by people, right? So that's a wonderful explanation. So actually, let's talk a little bit more about the ServiceNow talks about an AI-powered nerve center. So unpack that for us. What does that mean?
So maybe I unpack that at three levels. I'll talk about the platform's positioning, the architecture overall of the platform, and the AI architecture within that. So ServiceNow is one platform connecting any AI, any data, and any workflow together to power across any industry. And unlike point solutions, ServiceNow is a platform solution, which is a broader, extensible system that provides a foundation for multiple applications to connect for a connected experience across an organization. And when you think about AI in that context, so AI work is cross-functional work, which is what ServiceNow uniquely provides. And when you think about the architecture, the second level of unpack, we create an entire tech stack that's integrated. So on-prem or in the cloud, any system, any LLM, any data source, we bring all of that data together in a single model. And from there, we elevate into the workflow layer where you can take action with data wherever it lives, right? And then you can move into the AI layer. And in the AI layer, it's not just automation, but true AI agents that execute real tasks to drive outcomes across business processes, whether it's hire to retire, procure to pay, design to product, sales to service, any number of them. So that's the architecture, the integrated architecture that meets the customer where they are. The third level is the AI architecture. And there are 5 key components to the AI architecture that we have. First one is the out-of-the-box ServiceNow agents. Now, these agents are built using 65 billion transactions a month that run across the metadata associated with it. So that allows for a level of precision, reduced hallucination, and things like that. Second component is our Agent Studio, so that customers can build custom agents using a low-code, no-code Gen AI-based UI. Hard to say that quickly. So that's the second component. The third one is Agent Fabric. And what this allows is for third-party agents to integrate seamlessly. Now, when you have these three different classes of AI agents, the out of the box, the custom built on the platform, and then the third-party ones, the fourth component comes in, is orchestration. So you could have, third-party collaborating with an out of the box, and that orchestration, that execution is done, can be done on ServiceNow, and that's what we recommend. And then the final part is sitting on top of all of that, which is a control tower. That provides visibility and risk management. And control tower isn't just a name for the solution. It's also like the ultimate metaphor for how ServiceNow helps customers govern the agentic enterprise, which is really important when you think about where we are, and where we're going. So we help the customers take advantage of everybody's innovation, our innovation, others' innovation, and we allow them to put investments together to make it work. And I think this is what really creates the nerve center, as you mentioned, to manage AI optimally without, with mitigating and avoiding the introduction of new types of technical debt and risk for the company.
Wow. Actually, I love the way you articulated it. I have not seen a better explanation of this. The way you described the whole nerve center, and this could be true for any platform. ServiceNow is one of the leading platforms, but the way you defined it and described it, it's a lovely explanation. So I would request an audience, if you're watching this, should pause here and take a relook at the way Ashish articulated it, because you'll not find it anywhere on any other channel. So beautiful. Actually, let's talk a little about how your AI agents, ServiceNow agents, are helping transform enterprises. Help us with some real life examples, or where ServiceNow agents have been deployed, and what are the kind of business outcomes that they are driving.
So Arun, what's happening is this technology is moving very, very quickly, right? And we start with ourselves first, and we deploy these technologies a few months before we go GA. So we have a lot of information about how we've internally done this, and we've been implementing agentic AI across hundreds of workflows across ServiceNow internally. One of the most mature ones is customer support. So AI agents are currently handling 72%, remember correctly, of our customer support requests. And when the 28% that actually do come to a human agent, AI is then leveraged for routing, categorization of these issues, case summarization, feedback loop in terms of knowledge, article creation, so that they can be self-service, that sort of thing. So that's the first example based on about 7 months or so of deployment internally. As far as customers of ours that we can publicly talk about, I'll list a few. Starbucks. So Starbucks is using our AI capabilities to enhance its technology ecosystem and launch across the select support centers to drive greater satisfaction at every touch point. Another one is a large retailer here in India, which will use agents to collaborate with employees to automate manual handoffs in their inventory operations, which is a critical operation. And also, like in the case of new store rollouts, align SOPs. Another example is in a different sector, Standard Chartered Bank, based out of Singapore. They will use ServiceNow AI Control Tower to help govern, secure, and realize value from their investment in agentic AI. And then the final example is one that I think everybody's familiar with, is Nvidia. So Nvidia is redefining employee support with ServiceNow. It's doing it with intelligent AI agents that proactively resolve issues, deliver personalized help, and provide answers to the employees within Nvidia.
Wow. And Ashish, I'm glad that you spoke about not just one single business function, but across multiple business functions and across different kinds of industries, different kinds of geographies, because that gives our viewers an idea of how ServiceNow is positioned globally across multiple industry segments to answer the whole question of how multi-agents come together and work towards a business outcome. So Ashish, there are two things that I wanted to deep dive on. One is the workflow data fabric that you have, because that brings data together from different kinds. And data is like a huge pain for a lot of enterprises, for whatever reason, right? Legacy data reason, or your data has not been maintained accurately, or whatever might be the reason, right? Data is always a main point. So talk to our viewers about how that flows. And two, there's a lot of questions about ethics and bias and privacy, right? So how does your AI control tower that you have right, address all of these concerns that people have. So talk to our viewers about those two specifically.
Sure. Let's start with the data since you brought that up first. So I think there's a myth that you must have all your data organized in a pristine manner and it must be perfect to use AI. It's a myth because you have companies are using data to run their business. It's just sometimes it's a painful process, but they have trusted data. What Workflow Data Fabric allows you to do is it allows you for those use cases that need to be AI, it allows you to be data ready to fuel those AI use cases. Let me break that down into a few components. So there's a design time aspect of it, which Workflow Data Fabric allows you to discover the data, understand that data from a metadata data glossary perspective, govern that data, model that data in a way that it can be reused across different use cases across the enterprise. So that's on the design time at a high level. On the runtime, full spectrum of data integration, whether it's full copy all the way to zero copy. That's on runtime. Now, this is done while maintaining a centralized common data model, regardless of where the data is stored, right? So it creates a level of flexibility that you just don't have otherwise. This allows you to build the AI agents that collaborate across functions to complete your needs. So if you think about life before Workflow Data Fabric, you have to have data fairly well organized on certain infrastructure, which is different than the AI infrastructure, which is different than the apps infrastructure. Each one of these have like different aspect ratios in terms of like memory and compute and those sort of things, right? Then each of these stacks have different techs and tools. They have different tech and tool. They have different skill sets associated with the teams that are supporting them. Now you have different teams to get things out into production. It's very arduous in terms of coordinating all those different releases and sprints and things like that. So that's before. With Workflow Data Fabric, your infrastructure is abstracted. Data can live anywhere. No code, low code is available to build and deploy. And so the data gains value as it turns into insights, which gains value as it turns into AI, which manifests as it gets deployed into a business process, which is a huge unlock and also velocity of unlock that is available now for enterprises. So that's my understanding of the way I like to talk about Workflow Data Fabric and how it's different than what's traditionally available.
Wow, lovely, Ashish. So thank you for explaining Data Fabric. So let's move on to the AI control tower and how that is being used for data privacy and ethics.
So I think this is a very good question, Arun, and I think it's important to understand control tower for what it is and how it complements what companies and enterprises need to do and are accountable for on their own in terms of governance and ethics and things like that. So what the ServiceNow AI Control Tower provides is a centralized observability and management for risk and compliance, adoption, and value. Now that will evolve over time, but that's what it is right now. And so if you're familiar with the governance, risk, and compliance capabilities or GRC capabilities of ServiceNow, that is being integrated. So if you look at agents, there's yet just another class of assets that the GRC can then apply to. Okay, so and that's part of the platform, power of the platform that we're able to unlock here. So with that, when you have, each customer has its own data governance based on its own specific industry and policies. They have varying levels of model risk management. They have security policies. So all of these things that they're already doing or that they're starting to do or being more rigorous on, at their pace are integrated into the control tower for that single pane of glass visibility, tuned and tailored to the unique industry and company's requirements. And when it comes to like data ethics, you can think about, well, how is that manifested in the context of the data governances they have, the model risk management and security policies they have, right? So to the extent that those are being managed, those are loosely coupled, tied to the way that the business is running and what is required. They're made visible and integrated in a way that can make sense in the AI context. Now, as far as like in runtime, one of the things I know you haven't asked this question, but I think it's probably a good thing to talk about. You can load policies into the RAG back end when you're actually building those orchestrated AI agent solutions. And to the extent that they are meaningful for that execution, they then help guide some of the responses and some of the activities. So that's another vehicle, albeit it's not from the control tower itself. It's another way of kind of including the ethics in the context of that company and for what they need to do.
Wonderful. Ashish, so I do want to emphasize to my viewers that if you are thinking about ethics and bias, ServiceNow platform has robust capabilities built around it. So as long as you leverage the platform to its fullest extent, those are things that you can relax about. All right. So actually, let's talk about the second segment of our show, which is about the crystal ball segment, right, which is about the future. So talk to our viewers about, in your vision of things, how is AI going to evolve in the next 3 to 5 years? And more importantly, what are some of the nascent use cases that you see today that are going to become mainstream in the next couple of years?
So, there's so much going on. 3 to 5 years is a generation when it comes to this technology and how fast it's moving. But assuming the same rate of progress continues, one thing that I think about is the fact that agents will be able to perform more complex tasks. They'll be able to collaborate more with other agents, which will allow for larger, nested, and coordinated orchestrations. So what that may yield is the evolution from agents delivering on intentions to delivering on outcomes. My terminology here is intention really going to, save the sale from a frustrated customer, right? So the agent is helping you save that sale. An outcome is a more programmatic thing. Reduce customer churn for product X in region Y by 2% over the next 3 months. So you can think about a larger suite and set of complex program that they could deliver on. So that could be something that we start to see emerging in the next 3 to 5. Now, what are some of the nascent capabilities? I'll just build on that one. You've got multi-agent collaboration, but it's in the early innings. Standards like A2A, MCP are developing. There's still a lot of things that are still being worked out. But as these evolve, the AI interoperability, I think, will only increase. And so as that AI interoperability increases, it may lead to macro level agent economy, where economic interactions are facilitated between agents. And if you think about that, and you think about, okay, what is ServiceNow's role in terms of supporting something like that? So ServiceNow is a part of the consortiums that are setting the standards, along with being on the World Economic Forum for AI ethics. So what this allows is, it allows us to not only have a front row seat, but it also allows us to have a voice in guiding these standards, which helps customers by taking advantage of this innovation velocity at the industry level, along with enterprise-grade guardrails that are inherently available on the platform.
Very, very interesting. Very interesting. So another one, you spoke a little bit about customers. ServiceNow has recently launched CRM. Right, primarily you were in the ITSM, ITOM space, and GRC and HRSD, and now you are becoming a company and competing directly with the established legacy, other companies who are in the CRM space without taking names. So how are you thinking about how is this going to evolve and mature the overall customer relationship management with ServiceNow coming in?
So I think things are changing at an industry level. And according to industry experts, what we understand is that, what they're saying is that agentic AI represents like a seismic shift that could render traditional legacy, as you said, CRM obsolete. What they're saying is by the end of this decade, enterprises will adopt systems of action driven by autonomous front-end agents. And I say front-end agents. So the future isn't a CRM screen. It's omnipresent AI agents embedded in everyday tools for that customer interaction. And that's not just at the front end, it's across. So when you think about ServiceNow, with our sales and order management solution and our acquisition of Logic AI, we're not just entering CRM, we're actually reimagining it now. So we're delivering a fully integrated AI-powered front office, sales and service, streamline operations, middle office, and dramatically improve time to revenue because of that. And so far, we've seen really good response from our customers based on these innovations. And I think that will only grow as you create this critical mass and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, based on the research that I've done, I've been hearing great feedback from analysts and other customers who are in the early stages of this, Ashish. And good luck to you and ServiceNow and the rest of the team for implementing ServiceNow CRM solutions. So actually, we spoke about multi-agents, and you touched upon that a little bit. Multi-agents are going to flood the workforce. What does it mean for the human agents, for the human employees? How do you foresee a world where there are few human agents or human employees with a lot of AI agents working together? How does that world look like?
So I don't know if it's necessarily fewer. I think the future. Somebody said the future is not evenly distributed; it's lumpy, right? And I think that's what we're going to have. And if you just think from a change management perspective, the first and most critical thing that needs to be established is trust. And that trust is between management and the rest of the organization, throughout all the different levels. So we have to have trust in building around AI in the organization. That means letting the organization know the intention in terms of what AI is going to do and what it's not going to do, for what we can see right now around to the horizon. And being transparent about the tasks that you want the team to handle and what you want to offload, I think is going to be important. Once you do that, every human employee will see the agents or team of agents who are responsible for the road to repetitive common tasks associated with their jobs. And their day-to-day lives will be more focused on things that they really signed up for, that are much more strategic or creative or engaging, more like energy giving to them. So I think that is really important in terms of like setting it up. And I think once that trust is built and people are comfortable with this as a way of getting work done, they also need to be upskilled to use those tools. So for example, they need to understand quality prompt engineering at the level of specificity that they will need to get comfortable with to leverage agents and things like that. And some of the workers who primarily have been exposed to email and word processing, they might feel somewhat outside of their comfort zone. But once they get past that, and we've seen this with different technological shifts, people do get comfortable, and then they don't even realize. It's like having children get taller. Like you don't even realize what happened, right? They also kind of grow into it, and then they all of a sudden realize the level of rewardingness that they're getting from the work itself. Now, I know I'm making it sound very positive, but I'm optimistic by nature, and I think if we have that kind of optimism, that becomes infectious and helps us get through some of the challenges that are inherently a part of the process.
Yeah. I mean, you're spot on, Ashish. I mean, look, there are job losses that are happening in today's world across different, not just one sector, but across multiple sectors, be it financial services, be it technology and whatnot, retail. But having said that, I also feel that there are new opportunities that will open up, which we're not even thinking about today, right? It's just way beyond our imagination. So I would like to be on the optimistic side with you, rather than saying that AI is going to take over the world.
Agreed.
Yeah. So actually, one question on that too, and since we're talking about the crystal ball segment here, ServiceNow has always been a very innovative company, and have always been amazed at the kind of thing that the company has always done, right? So what kind of innovation that are going to happen in the future that you can share in a public forum? I mean, again, not requesting you to talk about things that are in-house.
So I think maybe we talk about the kind of innovations that we have been doing with other companies. So that maybe helps us frame this, right? So I think, like AT&T, we co-innovated with AT&T on a solution to manage 5G and fiber network inventory for the global telco industry. Within our partner ecosystem, which includes Big Five, Big Four, SIs, there's a lot of co-innovation that's going on to build solutions on the platform at the industry level and then jointly go to market. So that's happening. Jensen Huang announced the co-innovation of the Nemotron reasoning models at the last Knowledge conference, which will accelerate the adoption of agentic AI for every industry. So those are a few examples that just tell us as recently as May, as far back as maybe a couple of years ago with the AT&T example. And I think these partnerships will only increase because the flywheel of the ServiceNow AI platform ecosystem is in full motion. I think each of these co-innovations will have to make sense in a sense that each side brings complementary value, and they also see a strategic alignment for their individual interests. But above all, it must help customers see more value faster as they transform to an AI-first enterprise.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, that's a good one. Eventually, the goal is to become an AI-first enterprise and make sure that you're delivering the right outcomes for your customers in whichever market segment you operate in. Excellent. Ashish, so with that, we move on to the next part of our show, which is the rapid fire round. So here's my first question to you. What is one AI-driven prediction for the future of work that most people are not even thinking about yet?
So I'll go with the same theme of multi-agent. So I think if you get to an agent economy, it means that we've been able to get to a higher level of trust so that agents are actually having economic interactions. And when that happens across companies, B2B friction will reduce. It'll have to. And as that happens, it'll open up larger networks of trading value of one company with value from another company. And as that happens, that will result in a larger economic value pie. I don't know how much people are contemplating what this means in terms of the network effect of this kind of technology as it gets integrated across businesses, across industries, and across the globe.
Wonderful. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Which industry do you believe will be most profoundly transformed by AI in the next decade?
So it's a great question. I think most industries will be transformed. Some will be earlier than others. The ones that I think about based on my conversations and interactions with different customers, consulting. So if you think about consulting, there's discovery, there's analysis, there's synthesis, there's tailored recommendations that are presented. A lot of that can be done with the right LLM, the right context and guardrails. But then with agentic AI and using a platform such as ServiceNow, you don't just have the recommendations. You can think about all of these things being actioned in a programmatic and staged manner. So I think that will really shift this thing. We talk about, software as service turning to service as software. You think about, okay, well then this is a service. Pharmaceutical is another one. If you think about like drug discovery and how much time goes into finding whether a molecule is going to be effective and determining its efficacy. And if you think about like what's possible now, or increasingly so, you can think about all the combinatorial evaluations that can be done across an exponential level of molecules, which means you shave off years in terms of drug development. I think that could be huge. Then you think about like financial services, airlines, or any industry where as a customer, boy, there's a lot of exceptions. And exceptions are more common than you'd think. And so as reasoning capabilities increase, agents will be able to support not just the happy paths of situations, which most automations and straight through processing and like in the financial services context is possible, but the vast majority, which then improves for the company as well as for the customer efficiency and experiences. The last one, which is interesting, is manufacturing and supply chain. I think we're doing it right now with some very large automotive and other manufacturing firms, just increasing resiliency to macro and global events as agents are able to kind of understand, okay, there's a supply chain interruption, or there's a tariff, which means the price is going to be up, finding alternatives, giving options, developing plans, and then laying out that plan to make the changes, get the approvals, all of those things in a much more efficient way. So I think that resiliency to a more and more ever increasing connected supply chain for manufacturing and all that, I think, and logistics also. But then over time, as AI starts to power robots, a whole new dimension of value will emerge, starting probably with like the things that are less safe for human beings to do that robots can do, and then other kind of other activities that will add a lot more value as well. So those are the 4 or 5 that industries that come to mind.
Yeah, no, those are great examples. I mean, I have had guests from each of those industries and pretty much very similar conversations, Ashish, in terms of the transformation that they're going to see, the outcome they're going to drive with the help of AI. Okay, so the third one I have for you, if you could give one piece of advice to a CEO who is hesitant about large-scale AI transformation, what would it be?
So I think transformation is always thinking big. It's thinking about things at a first principle level in terms of what the business is about and what the customer is really looking for, what's the value. So I would say think big with a BHAG, like KPIs that you set that's relative to your business. But don't approach it as a big bang. Think big, but don't approach it as a big bang. Instead, move really quickly in an iteration so that you learn. So you not only have implementation velocity, but you also have learning velocity on this thing. So that's what I think really important. And doing that now in leveraging AI on starting with the known pain points is, I think, a good place to start, because that develops internal credibility for how this is affecting the organization, because it's a known pain point. And that also then creates this level of like feedback loop culturally in the organization that will help them opt in more actively, which allows the organization to develop muscle to move to larger and more complex scopes for the organization. But I think they can't wait. Companies can't wait to stand still, because the peers aren't. And there are plenty of well-funded AI startups positioning to unlock value for customers if they don't.
Yeah, it's very easy to be irrelevant very, very quickly if you don't take that step. All right. My next one to you is, what is the common misconception about AI in the enterprise that you would like to debunk?
So I think it's some others have said it. I don't mean to be, but this is what I think about. I think a common misconception is that AI will completely replace human workers overnight. And in reality, AI serves as a tool to augment human intelligence that enables employees to focus on higher value, creative, and strategic work that they're not even thinking about. It goes back to my point about being numb. If I could elaborate a little bit, I was having a roundtable with GCC Global Capability Center heads, and we're talking in India about this. And I said, as you think about the different types of work, you have like very commodity type work, and then you have like commodity but functional. It could be HR, it could be finance, something like that. Then you have like specialized functional. And then you have the kind of like really insightful related to that function for that company that helps them get more differentiation. Like think about the HR activity of talent planning for executives. That's like very differentiating, right? Because it depends on as you're able to compress the capacity of required for the lower ones that I just talked about, you create white space for those HR or finance folks or technology folks to really think about technology in the sense of how does this move the needle in terms of differentiation, profitability, so on and so forth. It's something right now we don't even think about because that capacity isn't available and the context switching is so high. Those are the kind of things I think that gets unlocked that all of a sudden we'll be, oh my God, actually this is more fulfilling. Actually, I feel more engaged as opposed to being in a function that for some could be working at the peer competitor or even in a different industry, which I think becomes more meaningful as well.
Yeah, I love it. We are so much involved in task management versus trying to be more strategic in our thinking. And I think all these tools are going to take away the task so we can focus on the strategic part, which I'm not even thinking about because we just don't have the bandwidth. Okay. And the last one and the fifth one I have for you, beyond business, what's one area of life that you are most excited to see AI make a positive impact?
Mental health. So we usually think about technology, social media contributing to anxiety and things like that. But I think AI is so powerful I can also see it working in a compassionate way. Think about an always on, relatively free of cost counseling and support that's ubiquitously available. Services at scale for people going through trauma in their lives. An application might be like, employee helplines. It could be as a service for patients at a hospital going through a difficult time, their loved ones. So I think there's a lot of good that AI can do to serve people in their time of emotional need, and also removing administrative load from caregivers that are often, just not enough, so that they can spend time to provide and offer the unique human touch that people do.
That's a beautiful thought, Ashish, and it was a very kind thought. So with that, we come to the end of the show, Ashish. Thank you so much for taking the time with our audience.
Thank you, Arun. It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much.